Very good. Good week, good month. What about you?
Same here, man. Same here. I'm excited to hear about your results, to be honest, and obviously, like, we're kind of just repeating, I'm repeating what I had said earlier, right? But for the recording now. um, but yeah, man, I guess the first place that we can start is just,
Yeah,
um, for anybody watching this, just like who you are and what you do.
yeah. Sure. So my name is Arnold. I own predictableclient.com, which is a company where we build client acquisition systems for service-based businesses. So coaches, consultants, agencies. We don't do that for software as a service yet, but yeah, that's pretty much what I do.
Nice, nice. And I guess before we decided to go on this journey of performance optimization, right? From your own perspective, right? Like how you remember it, how was the performance, and what really, I guess,
Yeah.
triggered you to think that you needed to get some help with it and optimize it?
Yeah, man. Usually when this question pops up, I'm like, it's hard when you are so many levels above what you were a while ago to remember it. So I'm gonna just try to remember the idea generally. But you already know I've already was good at performance. Like I know a lot of things. I've worked in performance myself. I sold a performance business back in 2020. But
Hmm.
when it comes to performance, it's a very nuanced uh, market, basically. So a lot of people look at performance is one-sided, where performance is not one-sided. Performance is a holistic approach, basically. It's the body, the mind, the vision, the mission, and everything. So before starting working with you, I already performed like 5 hours, 5 hours and a half every single day,
Yeah.
focused work, so no distractions, no anything. But even with that, I always felt that there was more, not work time. I felt that there was something bigger, something more leverageable that I could focus on. A bigger vision, a bigger mission, a bigger purpose, the things that we could implement within the business to squeeze out the most from the minimal amount of input, basically. And I've always been curious about that, always been curious about that. But I've never worked with quote unquote like someone when it comes to performance because I always hear the same thing like drink lemon water, do this supplement stack.
Yeah.
I don't know, blue light, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I was sick and tired of hearing about that specifically because, like, okay, yeah, like, cool. I can research it on YouTube. So when I stumbled across something that you said once, which is performance comes from fixing the mind in a lot of ways. So all of the chains that are holding you back, you just release them and you just can naturally perform. And this is what was very interesting to me, which is like I've always felt like there were chains, something holding me back, maybe past beliefs, maybe past experiences, whatever you want to call it, you can call it. But what were those? How to deal with them? I don't know. And I'm sure that lemon water or ice shower in the morning wouldn't do the trick for that. So, yeah. So this is why I reached out to you and I started working with you because I've always literally felt that there was something more, like broader vision, bigger thing that we can achieve some way, some shape, somehow. Didn't know what back then, but I knew it was more of a mind thing,
Hmm.
more of you are the person holding yourself back. It's not the physicalities, it's more of you, literally you. And if you unlock your mind, everything flows after it. And this is where we explored something called intrinsic motivation, which I really love and I implement like every fucking day because you're driven. You just can't stop doing the thing. It's clear what you want to do, and you're just like a machine that doesn't stop. So this is pretty much the floor state, if you want to call it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I remember that. And so it's really cool to see the levels you were able to ascend to. And what I'm really curious about is what you said about the mind, right?
Yeah,
Where you felt that was, in a way, kind of like the biggest bottleneck, right?
yeah. When it comes, man, to building a business, a lot of things happen every day. There's a lot of pressure from every single place on earth, basically. And also, when it comes to business, the business is the biggest teacher, in my opinion. Like, if you really want to know yourself, start a business. You'll know a lot about yourself, about your
True.
traumas, about your beliefs, about your limiting beliefs, about your empowering beliefs. You'll know a lot about every single effing thing, basically. And as the business started growing, and as I started growing, I've always felt that there was this thing inside of me that is driving me to push and do something different, to push and do something more. And I didn't really know what, I didn't really know how. And that's what I mean when it comes to the mind. It's like the mind tries to put you in the places that can potentially or actually just give you exponential growth. You just have to allow it. You just have to allow yourself, basically, and not sabotage yourself. And this is the biggest key, which is a lot of business owners don't really look at that, which is self-sabotage. Where in reality, if there's something that messes up with business owners, people like me, people like, well, you, everyone, is self-sabotage. And self-sabotage is not coming from something on the external, it's called self-sabotage.
Yeah.
You, basically. So that's what I mean when it comes to the mind. Like, for years, feeling that there was more, but I felt that I was holding myself back from the more. And I did the mindset work, I did all of those, but again, nothing is as powerful as someone looking from the outside in, not from the inside out, basically. So yeah, that's what I mean when it comes to the mind.
That's powerful because we
Yeah,
all have blind spots, right? There's only so
man,
much
yeah, we
that
realized
the
so many
mind can
blind
see.
spots. I didn't even know that they were present.
Hmm.
So many. We
Right.
all
And
do.
I mean, that's why they call it the unconscious, right? Because it's
Yeah,
actually unconscious.
yeah.
It's not, it's very hard to see. And that's what,
100%.
yeah, a lot of entrepreneurs don't really put the
Yeah,
value on it. Well, because a lot of times they can't see it. And so out of
right.
sight, out of mind in a lot of ways, right? But you will see it when you're running into what you said. You know you can do more, but at the same time, you get that sense you're like, I am getting in my own way here.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it comes out, focus problems, getting distracted, procrastination, things like this, right?
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
just
even with
internal
the most
resistance.
basic things, like with the most basic things. One time you picked up on something while asking me a couple of questions, which in my opinion was very powerful when you picked up on it. Uh, I'm trying to remember the exact, yeah. So the exact situation was I came to you and I told you like, Nick, okay, I'm performing, things are moving, but
Mhm.
man, I always feel dissatisfied. I'm never happy. I'm never actually content with what's happening. Even like we're making pretty good progress in the business, pretty good progress with clients. Everyone is just fucking loving the experience, and yet I wasn't happy. So when you dove deeper into the questions, of course, I'm not gonna dive deeper into the questions right now. We realized that it wasn't in the business. It was something that it was a self-sabotaging pattern in myself, which is I didn't gratify myself for the work that I was doing. That is one small bit, tiny bit piece of blind spots that I had, for example, that I didn't know that I had. I didn't know that it was present. Yet, when we became aware of it and we put a protocol to deal with it,
Mm.
man, like every single day coming into the business feeling, okay, I'm not like ecstatic every single day because that's unhealthy, but at least
Mm.
I'm good. I'm good. I don't feel like the world is slapping me in the face with that fish basically every single day. It's a small, for example, blind spot that I didn't know. I didn't even know that it existed. But through questioning, we realized it. So that's a small blind spot. Yeah, we have so many, but that's one.
No, that was a big one, right? And that's very
Yeah,
common for entrepreneurs, right? It's
yeah,
how are you relating to your results? How are you
yeah.
relating to your progress and to yourself, right? That's so massively overlooked, you know? And
100%.
when you do it in the wrong way, well, it can lead to burnout. It can lead to just being chronically dissatisfied.
Yeah,
And because then it's like, well, what was the point of the business and what's the point of the money if everything's just kind of a drag?
yeah, yeah. This was me, basically.
For sure. That's so cool to hear, man. That's so cool to hear. And what I'm interested in now is like, so that was a big piece, right? That was a big, it sounds like it was a big aha moment for you, big shift.
One
So
of the,
one of them, yes, exactly. And so what were some other points that you found to be
yeah.
maybe surprising, or I guess just all in all, what maybe you found to be most powerful, transformational, and I guess like what stuck with you the most?
A lot of things stuck, honestly. And that's the beauty about it. It's like when we were doing the work, it wasn't like take all of those strategies, figure it out.
Mm.
I'm trying to not curse for taking
Go ahead.
pauses.
No, no worries.
Yeah.
We're raw here.
So basically, figure it out.
Yeah.
Uh, what was happening is that every week we were tackling one topic. That's pretty much it. Like every week we look at the biggest thing, what's happening here. Okay, this is it. Let's deal with that.
Mm.
Um, and this is why a lot of things stuck. So one of the things that stuck was constraints. So the theory of constraints, basically.
Oh yeah.
I didn't look at it that way. But when we start dealing with the theory of constraint, we realize that a lot of things within the business were tasks that were being done. But doing something doesn't mean that you're moving. That's the big key. You can
Mm-hmm.
do a lot of shit every day
Mm-hmm.
for hours. That doesn't mean that you're moving.
Right.
And the theory of constraint was one of those pretty important points,
Mm.
extremely important points. The theory of constraints. Another one that I didn't know, in my opinion, like I knew, okay, the vision, the mission,
Mm.
the identity, the character stuff. I knew those, but
Mm.
when we reiterated them in a way which is like, what would this person do? How would this person think? How would this person act? Your future self, your goal self, basically. What would be the goal? Like you asked me one time, I told you like I really want to build one of the best products in the industry, and you told me how does this product look like? And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, so a lot of us say like, okay, I want to have whatever, $100,000 per month. How would it look like?
Mm-hmm.
That's a question that not a lot of us ask. And we started working on those things. So theory of constraints, putting clearer paths. Another one, which is pretty cool, when we started doing the deadlines strategy, which is putting deadlines on the work times and all of that, we're able to increase our work time from 5 hours and a half, 5 hours every single day, to 7 hours. Now that might not sound like now like I'm working like a machine, great, but that's an hour and a half, 2 hours every single day extra. So over 4 to 5 days, that's 8 to 10 hours extra every week. I charge per consultation, if people want to take me as a consultation, just as a consultation, $250. So the consultation is usually an hour and a half, 2 hours. So let's say per hour, 125, $150. An extra 10 hours per week for me is $1,500 per week. So that's what people don't really understand when you optimize the small things.
Mm.
That's how we can look at it if you want to measure it in numbers, basically. So those are some of the other things that really stuck. And we could go on. We still even have some time working together too. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty much it.
No, that's powerful, man. And I remember that that was a big piece for sure, creating more intentionality with the way that you were working, right?
Yeah,
Not doing things for the sake of activity, but doing things
yeah,
because it's the most important thing that you could be doing in the business.
yeah,
So, like,
yeah,
you know, not only did you get more time back, and, obviously, when you start thinking about your time in terms of, hourly rate, that's a very powerful increase, right? Like, that's a big boost. But then at the same time, it's like you're increasing the amount of time you're spending on the right things, right? And
100%.
that's probably what most entrepreneurs, especially, dudes that are coming up right in their 20s, they seem to kind of like they don't understand that point very well, right?
Yeah,
This is something I didn't understand very well for a very, very long time. And it's not talked about very often, right? You just see a lot of the gurus like the Andrew Tates and the Alex Hormozis. I mean, Alex Hormozzi's starting to talk about it now. But before, it's just hard work, grind, 12-hour days, all these things, which hard work's obviously important. You have to put forth the effort and things like that. But if
yeah.
you're spending 12 hours on the wrong shit, you're not going to get anywhere, right?
And that's a key point, man, which is we measure our outputs by the amount of work we're putting every single day. Where in reality, it doesn't matter how much work you're doing as long as you're doing the right things every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the biggest key if we want to look at it, which is like if you have, for example, an offer problem in your business, you could spend all of the day prospecting, doing content, bending over backwards. But if you don't fix that, nothing is gonna work. You still have that as the key bottleneck, basically. That's an example. But
Yep.
this is just to set like things in simple terms, which is like you can really work on a lot of things. That doesn't mean that you're gonna get the results.
Mm-hmm.
This is
Yeah.
where getting clear on the things that need to be done, how they need to look like, and actually just focusing on getting there is where it goes up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. That's awesome. So, I do remember that's been a big thing, right? Is the output.
Yeah.
I guess let's talk about a little bit your focus, right? Like your focusing ability and how
Oh yeah,
you are in the present
actually,
moment. Have you found it
let's talk
different?
about it with numbers.
Yeah,
So I have, by the way, like we have everything tracked. So so
that was
focus
another big
percent,
piece. Yes.
yeah. So by the way, we started tracking like the data. I'm looking at it right now. I think in the fourth week of working together, the focus percentage was 62%. After it, in a week, it was 90%, and it hasn't dropped since then. That's focus. Energy during work, it was 70%. Then it was 87.5%. Then it was 90%. Then it was 92.5%, basically. So stress levels already I have had them low because I don't stress a lot. But first week 20%, second week 12.5, third week 10%, fourth week 5%. So focus, stress, like focus, energy up, stress down, and that's numbers wise. Now physically, like how does it look like when it comes to work? Like imagine with me once you're whatever you're doing, like I don't know, every single person watching this has their own hobby, has their own thing. But when you're doing your hobby, you're losing yourself in it. It's like hours, time just passes by and you just don't know where it went. Whether it was gaming, whether it was drawing, painting, playing soccer, whatever it is. That's what happens when the focus is up, basically. I remember one time I was working on I didn't do our rule, which is putting a deadline. So I started tracking and I started working in the morning, and then I looked at the clock on my laptop, and it was like 11:30 a.m. But I started at 7. I was like, what the fuck? Like, like okay, time. Like I didn't even realize what happened.
Yeah.
that's what happens when focus is up, when energy is up. You start losing yourself in the thing. And the beauty about it is that you know you're losing yourself in the right things. And this is the key. Okay, you can lose yourself in the wrong things, but again, we need to lose ourselves in the right things. That's the key.
Dang. Yeah, that's so potent, man. It's
Yeah,
like you can have pride after getting lost in your work or in that flow state, right? Because there's a good flow state and a bad flow state.
yeah,
Bad flow
yeah,
state is like you're doing shit that doesn't matter, scrolling the internet, doing
yeah,
little easy stuff that releases a lot of dopamine. But then there's the very productive and
yeah.
rewarding flow states where you're actually moving the needle and then you don't even feel it, right?
100%. 100%. This is
Man,
how it looks like. 100%.
I love that. That's so cool. That's so
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
So, um, I guess, did you have any other points on that one?
On that, no, like when it comes to
Mm,
focus, things are pretty good. Uh, Routines are in place already. Like routines weren't my problem again.
yeah,
But I think like right now, as we started talking about those things, we need to remind ourselves like why was that all of that even possible? It's because in the first place, what we worked on initially was realigning the mind.
yes,
So
yeah,
all of that, okay, is external results of an internal thing that happened, realigning the mind, which is things are clear. Where you want to go is clear. Who you want to be is clear. So, okay, all of those, the deadline strategy, the constraint strategy, all of those are great and they're beautiful and they're sexy. But the key thing is you knowing where you're stopping yourself and removing that. That's the first week. That was literally our first week, basically.
100%. Yeah,
So yeah, that's also something that I wanted to add because we can't forget what caused all of those results.
it's very true. It's very
Yeah,
true. And I do remember that as soon as we started on the vision, and when you do it right, he who has a why to live for can bear anyhow, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
if you give a guy like all these tactics and strategies, he could have the best in the game,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So organized. But if he kind
yeah,
of doesn't know where he's going, he lacks purpose, he wakes up and he kind of wants to hit the snooze button, he's not energized, he's kind of dreading the day ahead, he's not going to win long term, right? He's going to gas
100%,
out, he's going to lose energy and probably just fall into
100%.
bullshit. He's not going to do the things that he
Yeah.
knows he should, right?
Man, yeah, I think this is a big, big, big thing that we could talk about for hours. But a lot of people say, like, how don't you get emotional? How don't you fall into old habits, negative patterns, addictions? Man, really, when you are every day working for something that you know is going to be great for you and your for future and your family, it's it's really hard to fall, man. It's really hard to fall back because every day you're driven to build that thing. There's an internal drive that is pushing you to be better, to perform better, to create more, basically. That's the key. That's what lemon water doesn't solve, basically. And Himalayan salt in the morning doesn't solve, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah. Supplement stacks and nootropics and those sorts of
Yeah,
little 1% improvements, right?
yeah,
That's so powerful. Um, when you have a strong enough reason, it's like you start really pushing forth, right? Like you were seeing a lot of that. You saw that big jump in the first week because
yeah,
you had good reason to, right? It's like you're not
100%.
going to access your highest levels of performance and productivity and progress
Yep.
if you don't have a good enough reason to do it. Like if you're just chasing a payday,
Yeah.
that gets old pretty quick, as I'm sure like you come to understand, right?
Yeah. That's a big thing, man. Like if you study billionaires, like a lot of people think that billionaires are biohackers, when in reality, the billionaires that started becoming biohackers, they started becoming biohackers after they made the billions. So
Mm-hmm.
in the reality, it's not what you need in order to create something big, honestly. What you
Yeah.
need to create something big is an internal drive that is so big, so hungry, like a monster that wants to eat, and nothing will stand in your way. When you're there, do the biohacking stuff. It works.
100%. Yeah, just one final point on this. A perfect example is Elon Musk, right? He's not out
Oh
here
yeah,
with
I
his
wanted to give an
lemon
example. Yeah.
water and his supplement stacks and his foam rolling and his morning routines. Like he's taken on more stress than probably any human being probably could, right? Like
Yeah.
how many times has he faced absolute failure, just dead in the
Yeah.
eyes, and then he didn't stop, right? Like that's pretty intense. Why is that possible? He has a strong ass reason to do it. He's getting to Mars, even like if he dies trying, essentially, right? And that's really the
Yeah.
key.
Yeah, man. That's what people don't really understand when it comes to this market and this world.
Yeah. So one final question. How do you think, this we've talked a lot about like, how this has impacted you and everything, but I guess how do you feel in your maybe personal relationships or just in how you're leading your business and has it
Mm.
had any other effects on the business and stuff like that? Do you notice any changes? Do people notice changes?
Yeah. So I have a full-time team member basically, and we started getting more to the point. Meetings have been, we had daily meetings. Now we have two meetings with an optional third per week. So we took it from five to two, basically. Uh, his work is getting done better, faster, more efficient. Um, why? Because I just want to perform better. The mission is clear, the vision is clear. We relayed the mission, the vision. They believe in it, they perform on it, and even in our meetings, it's not talking about stuff, it's talking about the constraints. So again, back to the theory of constraint. What is stopping us? What is stopping us? We fix that. And that's where leadership has went up drastically, which is what is stopping us? What is the key constraint? And let's work on that. Let's fix that. Let's make that our focus point, basically. That would be how it started leading the leadership within the business. Now, when it comes to personal life, man, just my routines were already in place, so it was pretty good. But I started becoming a bit happier. Let's just say that. Even though this is not a metric that I measure, because it's very subjective. Sometimes shit is gonna happen and you will feel sad, you will feel mad. But I started giving myself a little bit of a couple of pats on the back whenever I do something. I started not feeling guilty when I just want to take a breath. I started enjoying a bit more the present moment rather than always like, if I'm not working, I'm fucking miserable. Those small things improved the gratitude improved the business performance and all of that for sure.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's the most powerful thing right there. Honestly,
Yeah, man.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. I love to hear that.
Yeah. Like I was, whenever I was doing something outside of actually working and sitting in front of a computer, it was a waste of time for me. When in reality, it was the time where my brain worked the best. I brainstormed the best ideas and I created the best modules and content. Let's just say that. So yeah,
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's another big shift, right? Are you addicted or not even addicted? Are you a slave to the work, right? Do you work or
yeah,
are you a slave to the work? Um,
yeah.
Seems
That's
like
a
you're a
good one.
master of your work now.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Still in worse. Sometimes I start to feel the guilt, but I remind myself that this is where the brilliant ideas come from. So yeah.
Awesome, man. I love to hear it. Any
Awesome.
final thoughts for an entrepreneur who's like, they know their performance is
Yeah,
affecting their results in business
yeah.
and they're like, should I just like get another sales program or marketing program or should I
Yeah.
actually like fix my performance? What would you say to that guy?
What I would say is something that is going to get censored, but I'm going to try to find something that is a bit easier to say, uh, because you know me, like I'm very straight to the point with those things. But you can fix as many things on the outside as you would like to fix. You can buy all of the marketing, all of the sales content, all of the client. Even I sell client acquisition. And I'm going to tell you one thing. If you come into my program and you take my best performing strategies, like my client last week generated 24 clients. If you take the same strategy as he took and you applied it for yourself, but you cannot get yourself to fucking perform, I don't care how many strategies, marketing stuff, sales stuff, you're not gonna go where you want to go. And this is my guarantee for you. A lot of people build the business and then go into performance. Go into performance and go then into back into the business. It is your biggest constraint. And this is what people need to understand. It is your biggest constraint. And in my opinion, I will never go a month without a performance coach next to me. Because I've seen like some basic questions that make you rethink every single thing that you're doing. And you're like, what the fuck was I doing right now? Some basic questions. Someone just looking at your blind spots. So if you're not making sales and you made sales in the past, my friend, your problem is not you don't know how to make sales. You just can't get yourself to repeat it. Same thing for clients, same thing for marketing, same thing for a team. Just can't get yourself to repeat the things that worked. You need a performance person, not a business person. So that's what I would say, in my opinion. Again, like I run a business company and I'm saying that this is the reality of it.
Yeah, that's so important. It's very powerful.
Yeah.
Well, that's about it for the questions, man. I really appreciate you jumping on here and sharing your thoughts and everything that you've experienced so